What if Hornet was in Demon Slayer? What would happen? Could Hornet, just like the Hollow Knight, face the demons? Look, Hornet is fast, lethal, and known for manipulating threads as sharp as blades, controlled with surgical precision. According to official data, Hornet can perform quick dashes in fractions of a second and reach speeds that surpass the Knight's reflexes. In Hollow Knight, who can already respond to several attacks in under 0.2 seconds. In fact, she has already tested the Hollow Knight in a one-on-one fight, not falling behind his abilities. In terms of Demon Slayer, this speed would be comparable to the movements of a Hashira in combat. But is it possible that Hornet could exterminate the Oni without a blade? Nichiren? That's what we're going to find out, but how did she end up in the world of Demon Slayer? See, when a dimensional rift opens in the depths of Hollow Nest, Hornet, hunting for her own truth about the fate of the insects and the weight of her lineage, crosses this rift and awakens. In a forest filled with a dark aura, the heavy air and the smell of human blood make her realize that this world is also dominated by nocturnal creatures. Not much different from the horrors she faces in her own kingdom. Hornet watches from a distance as young swordsmen in the final selection face the Hand Demon, who, with his immense thirst for revenge against the hunters, threatens to wipe out Tanjiro and the others. Then, Hornet springs into action with her needle and thread. Hornet creates a whirlwind of threads that wraps around the Oni's arms, preventing him from crushing Tanjiro. Her speed is so great that most hunters' eyes can't even follow her movements. Hornet can chain dashes that make her almost untouchable by slower enemies. Yet she still can't defeat the creature. The thread cuts Oni's skin, but he regenerates too quickly. Hornet can only restrain the monster for long enough for Tanjiro to deliver the final blow with his Nichiren. It's enough for his presence to be noticed. But before Tanjiro could find out who she was, Hornet had disappeared. But why did Hornet do that? Why did she help Tanjiro and the other hunters? That question will be answered soon, but notice that after the final selection, Hornet doesn't join the Corps directly. Her style is that of a lone hunter who travels through villages at night, avoiding direct confrontations, but eliminating minor threats or delaying strong demons until the hunters arrive. Throughout this period, she saves villagers and silently disappears before her name is mentioned. She becomes a mysterious legend among the organization's messenger crows. Hornet's fate meets Tanjiro's again at Mount Natagumo. The spider demon's web mirrors her threat abilities, stirring both repulsion and fascination in her. As Zenitsu struggles against the spider demon's subordinate, Hornet enters the scene. Using her long needle, she intercepts the attacks of the spider puppets, creating the necessary opening for Zenitsu to execute his thunder-breathing technique. Zenitsu wins, but it's Hornet's presence that prevents his premature death. However, her interference comes at a price. Shinobu, upon meeting her immediately, mistakes her for Muni due to her appearance and the strangeness of her techniques. The insect's sweep attacks her with lethal precision, but Hornet proves to be up to the task. Her threads wrap around Shinobu, restraining her in midair. A rare feat, since even ordinary hunters would never be able to restrain her. Hornet, with no interest in killing, simply flees from the confrontation. At the critical moment in the fight against Louis, Hornet reappears, crossing paths with Tanjiro. When Tanjiro is about to be crushed by the Lower Moon's webs, Hornet pulls him toward her with a thread, saving him from being torn apart. Her needle cuts through the dense webs with force similar to breathing techniques. It is at that moment that Tomioka witnesses the scene and realizes that the strange warrior is not a common Oni, but she is not human either. Suspicion prevails, but both he and Tanjiro acknowledge that she saved lives. After Kanao and Shinobu arrive, Tomioka and Tanjiro stop them from acting against Hornet. And she is taken to the Hashira meeting not as an ally, but as an unknown who needs to be judged. Just like Nezuko, despite her cold expression, her movements and posture carry an air of nobility. In front of Buyashiki and the Hashiras, she kneels in silent respect, impressing them by immediately recognizing authority and hierarchy. Something rare for a mysterious outsider. Buyashiki asks what she is. Hornet? She replies, Hornet, but her words are not understood. However, there is no arrogance or sense of superiority. Buyashiki understands this as something to be observed and watched closely. He realizes that Hornet is neither an Oni nor a human. He keeps her under Rengoku's watch, aware of her heroic acts. or rather, her actions in favor of the Demon Slayer Corps. Buyashiki asks the blacksmith to soak her needle and threads in sunstone essence. Now her threads cut like solar blades, or rather, like Nichiren. And her needle, still light and agile, has the power to wound and decapitate demons. Hornet, who was previously just support, can now be a true hunter. But will that be enough for Hornet to fight against an upper moon? Could Hornet joining Rengoku on the Infinity Train actually save him? But before I explain, take this moment and use your powerful subscriber breathing to leave a mighty like on the video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel with the bell turned on, because only the channel's subscribers will be as strong as Yoriichi, the legendary hunter. I'll answer your questions. First, why is Hornet helping the hunters? Look, Hornet comes from a distant kingdom, where he protected innocents against corrupt forces. Upon seeing that this world suffers from creatures that also devour human lives, she feels it is her duty to help. For Hornet, protecting the weak is more than a mission, it's a legacy. Her mother, Erha, was a protector in Hollow Ness, and this flame of responsibility is now ignited in a new world. Joining Tanjiro, Zenitsu, Inosuke, Nesuke, and Rengoku on the Infinity Train, Enmu, the Lower Moon One, traps everyone in the dream world during the fight. After waking up, Hornet, with his insane speed, cuts through several layers of the demon flesh of the train, helping Tanjiro and Inosuke move forward without being swallowed. As soon as Enmu is defeated by Tanjiro, the real change happens with the arrival of Akaza, the Upper Moon 3. At the moment when Rengoku was about to be pierced, Hornet springs into action with his solar threads, trapping Akaza and preventing the demon from stabbing Rengoku. With the sunrise, she tightens her threads against the demon, slowing his escape. The demon fights back, regenerating, but the threads keep him trapped until the first rays of sunlight. Rengoku bravely decapitates Akaza with his Nichiren blade, surviving as the wounded but victorious flame Hashira. This change completely shifts the organization's fate. Rengoku lives and the morale of the hunters is strengthened, while Muzan loses one of his most valuable demons as Rengoku recovers. Hornet is put in Uzui's care and sent with Tanjiro, Inosuke, Zenitsu, and Nezuko to the entertainment district. Her skills with threads are perfect for fighting Daki, whose main strength also lies in her cutting ribbons. During the battle, Hornet neutralizes Daki's attacks by creating networks of solar threads that work as mobile shields. This lets Tanjiro and Uzui move forward safely. When Gyutaro appears, Hornet becomes even more crucial as she weaves her threads around the upper moon. The detail is that by doing this, she gives time for Zenitsu and Inosuke to join forces against Daki, while Uzui and Tanjiro focus on Gyutaro. The fight is still intense, but Hornet's support drastically reduces the injuries to the hunters and the destruction of the entertainment district. Tanjiro still puts himself in the position to awaken his hunter's mark, decapitating Gyutaro. In the end, Daki and Gyutaro are defeated, without Uzui losing his arm, also giving up his future, since without serious injuries, Uzui would decide to stay alive in the Hunter's Corps. Seeing the presence of Hornet, just as Buyashiki imagines, could be a key piece for victory against Muzan. Unfortunately, in this fight, Tanjiro damaged his sword in the battle against Gyutaro, and Hornet had his wires snapped by the insane attacks of the upper moons. So, Tanjiro decides to take her with him to the Swordsmith village. When Rentango and Gyoko attack, Hornet becomes essential as soon as Mutiru decapitates Rentango. He creates the Oni clones before the Pleasure clone kicks Mutiru out. With a powerful gust of wind, Hornet holds him with her threads, keeping the Hashira in the room. Thanks to this, decapitating the clones is easy and quick. Zoroku 10 appears, formed by Rentango's clones fusing. Mitsuri and Hornet arrive and together hold back Oni Mitsuri's wooden dragons. Mitsuri using her unique sword, and Hornet her solar threads, letting Mutiru, the Mist Hashira, behead Zoroku 10 and Tanjiro, behead Rentango's original clone. Unfortunately, the swordsmiths whom Mutiru had protected in the fight against Gyoko are killed. After all, the encounter never happened. However, upon seeing Rentango's defeat, Gyoko decides to retreat and report to Muzan about the Hashiras present, and Hornet. In the end, the village is saved, with fewer casualties. Mitsuri and Mutiru are never near death, and the organization sees Hornet as more than a resource, possibly a key against Muzan. The king of the Onus notices something alarming. Hornet, a foreign warrior with threads imbued with the Sunstone, capable of restraining even his upper moons. For Muzan, her mere existence is intolerable without Nezuko. Gaining resistance to the sun, Muzan changes his plan and no longer waits for an Oni immune to sunlight. He now wants to annihilate the organization immediately, before Hornet and the Hunters find more ways to challenge him. Thus, Muzan attacks the Hunters' mansion. Boyashiki, gravely ill, sacrifices himself in a planned explosion to delay Muzan, buying time for the Hashiras to get organized. When Nakimi takes everyone inside the Infinity Castle, the battles spread across different levels. Rengoku's survival due to Hornet and Juzui keeping his arm in the district drastically shift the balance of power. Two Hashiras who would have been absent before now fight alongside the others. Duma, the Upper Moon, too appears with his mocking air spreading deadly ice. Shinobu, furious about her sister's death, attacks at once. But, just like in the original storyline, she wouldn't stand a chance alone. That's when Oneto appears, moving with superhuman speed among the ice crystals as if they were just shadows. Her solar threads ignite the icy walls, cracking the ice that seemed indestructible. While Shinobu injects poison with quick attacks, Oneto keeps Duma trapped in a web of flaming threads, forcing him to face multiple slashes at the same time. Doma desperately regenerates with every blow, but the pressure remains. In the end, Shinobu sacrifices herself. She injects all her poison into the Oni. This time, Oneto uses threads to hold the Hashira's body, preventing Duma from fully devouring her. The poison weakens the Oni, allowing Oneto to pierce him with her solar needle and decapitate him. In moments, Duma is exterminated. Shinobu falls mortally wounded from the effort, but lives long enough to entrust Kanao to him. Meanwhile, Rengoku and Uzui face Kokushibo alongside Gyomei and Sanemi. The battle is brutal, but the difference is noticeable. With the last two upper moons gone, only the Demon King remains. Muzan appears in his powerful form, filling the castle with flesh whips. Hornet, together with Tanjiro, leads the charge. His solar threads temporarily restrain Muzan's limbs, creating openings for the Hashiras to attack without being destroyed. The fight is insane. Rengoku reappears in flames, Uzui with explosive sounds, Michiru with her devastating flexibility, and Gyomei with his overwhelming strength. Hornet moves across the battlefield like lightning, cutting through Muzan's attacks and saving allies at critical moments. At the peak of the battle, with the arrival of the sun. While Hornet restrains Muzan with threads and Tanjiro holds him with his sword, Muzan fatally wounds Tanjiro and injects his blood into him. Rather than giving in, the young man becomes Kanao. Muzan always sought a demon capable of surviving under the sun after transforming. Tanjiro loses control and his strength surpasses that of any demon ever seen. He charges at his own friends, and it's at that moment that Onreta fulfills her final mission. Using her threads, she and Kanao hold Tanjiro in place, restricting his movements as Nezuko arrives. After being healed, she calms Tanjiro with her presence, allowing Kanao to inject the antidote into Tanjiro, turning him human again. Thanks to Hornet, they manage to collect blood from upper moons, who are much stronger than in the original timeline, which allowed Tamayo to develop an antidote. With Muzan defeated, the war comes to an end thanks to Hornet. The casualties were almost zero. Unfortunately, Genya, being the weakest among them all, would not be able to survive the battle against Kokushibo. Mitsuri and Obanai, in turn, would die together against the King of the Onis. But the rest of the Corps and humanity finally had a decisive victory against the Onas. Hornet, in turn, feels that her mission is over. A new rift opens, calling her back to Hollow Nest. Before leaving, she looks at Kanao, Tanjiro, and the surviving Hashiras, and simply bows in silence, this being her discreet and noble way of saying goodbye. But what about you? What did you think of Hornet's presence in this Demon's Lair universe? Which character do you think could appear next in this universe? Comment down below, and I'll see you in this video I picked out for you. Until then, otaku.